Now, what's going to happen in this race with McCarthy and Labradors? 1,000 knives are going to come out on this guy, Labrador. I just want you to hear what he has to say, and you'll draw your own conclusions. But if these well-known conservatives who've been around a little bit longer have a problem with Labrador, why didn't they step up? Or why didn't they get some of their friends to step up? This is the only guy willing to step up. And you hear the fawning press, the fawning liberal press with McCarthy, because he's not one of us. He's trouble. Now, I want to point out something else, the third position, called the whip position, the enforcer, basically, the counter. There's a gentleman running for that. His name is Stutzman. He's from Indiana, and he is terrific. I've met him a few times. I've endorsed him a few times. Look, we don't have a vote in this, folks. I'm just making a point. That guy is earnest, he's solid, he's principled, and there's no question about it. And he came to politics for all the right reasons, because he was concerned about the country. He is the most solid conservative in that race as far as I'm concerned as well. But we will see now if the Republican Party got the message. I'm here to tell you that the Republicans in the House did not get the message, because they're either defying you or they're cowards. There is a two-man race now for majority leader in the House of Representatives. Congressman, how are you, sir?
I am doing very well. How are you doing, Mark?
I'm doing great. Now, we only have 4 or 5 minutes, so I want you to tell the whole country why you've decided that rather than this be a one-man race, that you would jump into this race and challenge Kevin McCarthy.
You know, I want a House leadership that reflects the best of our conference. We have a House conference that is conservative, that is mostly representative of the red states, the more conservative states, and not a single member of our leadership team is actually from a red state. We don't have people that believe in moving forward a conservative, prosperous agenda. We want to actually bring America together and actually explain to America that we can actually have a better nation. And I think we need better leadership in Washington, D.C. I get along with everybody there, but I think it's important for us to be represented by people in Washington that reflect our values and our principles.
So you want a Republican majority leader in the House who's going to be more outspoken about conservative principles, limited government, the Constitution, free markets, and that sort of thing?
Absolutely. We need to talk about the free markets. We need to talk about the growing challenges of the poor, insecurity in the middle class. All those issues are not resolved by more government. They're actually resolved by less government, more accountability, and by conservative principles. If we start believing in the free market more and less in government, I think we can actually make a difference for our constituents. But you also need somebody who can address those issues and speak to them in a way that the American people will understand. Right now, the majority of Americans don't think that the Republican Party speaks to their values. They agree with our principles, and if you ask them in a poll, do you agree with less spending, less government, more fiscal accountability? They agree with all those things, but when they ask them, do you think the Republican Party cares about people like you, the Republican Party cares about people like you, they say that we don't. And it's actually the values of the Republican Party that reflect the majority of the Americans and will improve their lives.
Mm-hmm. Tell everybody a little bit about your background.
Absolutely. I was born and raised in Puerto Rico. I lived there till the age of 13. I was raised by a single mom. I was her only child. She was an amazing woman. She was a JFK Democrat. We moved to the mainland when I was in high school, so I was 13 years old. It was in 1981. And she did something that was pretty radical at the time, but it's understandable now as we look at history. She became a Reagan Democrat. In 1981, she decided that, she was one of those Democrats that actually decided to change parties. And she became a registered Republican because she believed in the vision and the values of Reagan. She had seen President Reagan's first 2 years in office, and she decided that she wanted to be part of that movement. Think about this. This was a young, single mother from Puerto Rico who decided that she wanted to become a Republican. We need to do that more. We need to have more leaders in Washington, D.C. that will inspire people like my mother to become Republican. Because of her, I became a Republican, and I have always been a conservative.
And we only have a minute. What motivated you to run for Congress?
I was a member of the state legislature, and I was looking at what was happening in Washington, D.C. Actually, the Republican Party, I think, was not doing the right things, was spending too much, was allowing too much debt, and it seemed like nobody cared. And I just thought it was time for us to change what was happening. We had President Obama. It was right after President Obama's first term. And I thought it was majorly important for us to have people in Washington who actually stood up for the principles that I believed in.
If you can't do it, I understand. Would you like to hold over for a few more minutes, or do you need to run?
I probably have a few more minutes.
All right, I don't mean to put you on the spot, Congressman, but I appreciate it. Raul, Labrador, he just got off a plane, so he is hustling. And we'll be back with him after the top of the hour. We only have a few more minutes with Congressman Raul Labrador, who is from Idaho, who is a Republican, who is challenging Kevin McCarthy. There's two men in this race for majority leader, the Republicans in the House. Congressman Labrador, now McCarthy's had a head start. He's pulling all kinds of strings, working deals behind the scenes. You think you're going to be able to catch up to him?
I think we can. I think if you talk to the members of Congress, sometimes they feel like they're irrelevant. I just had one of my good friends call me, and he told me 90% of us feel like we don't make a difference. Everything's decided at the top. Everything's decided by the leadership, and that as a member of Congress, you don't have much to contribute. And most members of Congress understand that the American people, and the Republican voters in particular, they're disconnected with their leadership in Washington. And I think it's time for a change. I think this is a time where the members of Congress could do it. Are we going to be able to win? I think so, but we need to work hard, and I need to call and talk to every single member of Congress and of the House Republican Conference and let them know that I can make a difference.
The other thing that's troubling is, we all have our congressmen and congresswomen, and the committee process has been so terribly undermined. They bring things to the floor, or the committees don't have time to vet them, and what that means is we, the people, rarely get an opportunity to look at legislation before it's being voted on.
Well, that's one of my commitments as a House Majority Leader, is to make sure that we follow the 72-hour rule, that we follow all the things that we said when we won the elections in 2010. We won because we made a pledge to America. And when we made that pledge to America, we told them that we were going to let people read the bills, we were going to let the congressmen and congresswomen read the bills, that we were going to have regular order and a good process. And that has broken down a little bit in the House of Representatives. So I want to make sure that we do that. I want to make sure that the members feel valued and that they feel that they have the time that is necessary for them to make the difficult decisions that we have to make every single day. We need somebody who can unify the caucus and the party, and that we also need a reform agenda. And I think you've talked about this, Mark, that we actually need to let the American people know what we're for, not what we're against. We need to let them know the 4, 5, 6 things that we're going to do if they give us back the Senate. What are the things that we're going to do to make sure that the American people are better and more prosperous? Newt Gingrich was very successful with that, and I know that we can do it.
Do you have a concern, because I get a lot of members of Congress calling me about various things, and they tell me that really, the leadership on the Republican side they're pretty brutal. If you don't go along, they're going to pull committee assignments, and they're going to encourage donors not to support you and things of that sort. Does that concern you?
I'm the luckiest man in America, and one of the luckiest member of Congress. I don't need anything. If they want to pull my committees, they can do it, and it's not going to affect me in any way. I don't think they would do that to me. This is an open race. Remember this. I'm not challenging a sitting member of the leadership for their position that they hold. This is actually an open seat. There's an opening in the majority leader's office, and I don't think there would be any retaliation at all. But if, I don't need to be in Washington, D.C. I went to Washington to make a difference. I have a family at home. I have a beautiful wife. I have a wonderful family. And I was happy before I was a member of Congress. I was somebody before I was a member of Congress, and I will be somebody after I retire from Congress.
So you're going to work hard now, the phones, and contact your fellow Republicans and really campaign hard for this.
Absolutely. I've been on the phone all day. I'm going to be on the phone all day tomorrow. I'm getting calls. I'm getting texts. I'm getting emails. I have people already telling me that they're shifting their vote, that they're going to vote for me. And I'm just going to continue to work. It's a difficult climb but I'm the person who's decided to do it, and I think it was time for one of us to actually take a stand. So I'm excited about this, and it's a wonderful opportunity.
And I agree with you. It needed to be done. You're the conservative in this race, and I wish you all the best.
It's wonderful to talk to you.
All right, Raul, Labrador, God bless you, and good luck to you. And take care. I think he'd be 100 times better than McCarthy, don't you, Mr. Producer? You know, I don't know his entire record. I'm sure he's not perfect, this, that, and the other, but I know McCarthy, and I know that he is trouble. And you heard him, America. Sounds like a genuine, earnest fellow to me. A new face. A new voice. And look at his background. I'd be excited about it. McCarthy is not only more of the same, he's worse than the same. He's already doing victory laps, running around the U.S. Chamber of Commerce in K Street. And they want him, obviously, not Labrador. So that's, I was very impressed with him. Very impressed with him. Let's see what happens.